I remember when I got plunked earlier in the game, I didn't even get mad at the pitcher. I turned to their bench and I looked at Mike Bush. I said, okay, I said, no more. We're done. This is it. And of course, Greg got plunked again after that. And that's when all hell broke loose.
Welcome to episode 314 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. We are just a couple of weeks away from the start of spring training, so the baseball buzz will definitely start ramping up in the weeks ahead. That being said, there were a few big storylines coming out this week, so let's get right to it. And it'll start with congratulations to Lloydminster native and Dogs Academy alum Justin King on being named a non-roster invitee to the Miami Marlins spring training. He split last year between Milwaukee and Miami's farm system, going a combined 2-2 with a 6.08 ERA and 36 relief appearances, picking up one save. He also pitched in 4 games in the Arizona Fall League. College baseball season stateside is getting underway with a few teams already starting play. Just like last year, we won't be able to get to every athlete in every episode, but we'll do our best to provide a few of the highlights. This time around, Medicine Hat's Evan Morrison started the season in a big way with the Western Texas Westerners hitting a 2-run home run and a 4-3 loss to Coastal Bend College. Calgary's Tyson Kilbreath picked up his first win of the season for the College of the Sequoias. He allowed 2 runs on 5 hits, walked 2, and struck out 6 in a 7-4 win over Allen Hancock College. Dogs Academy grad Trey Mackwood made his debut for Panola College, throwing 2 innings of shutout ball and an 11-6 win over South Arkansas Community College. And some cool news for friend of the show, Michael Yusupchuk. The St. Albert product and Dogs Academy grad has been named the Missouri Valley Conference Preseason Freshman of the Year. He'll be suiting up for Missouri State this spring. On the college commitment front, 4 to pass your way, Weber Academy hurler Aiden Sachin is going to Coffeyville Community College. Matthew Tran of Dogs Academy will head to the University of Portland. Going Yard Academy's Lucas Kaufman has signed on with the UBC Thunderbirds, and Caden Przofsky of Barry's Academy is on his way to the College of the Desert. We'll have a trio of recent college commits coming up on next week's episode of the show, so here's that shameless plug to hit that subscribe button. To the Western Canadian Baseball League now, and some news that was actually dropped on the day we released our first episode of the season. The Edmonton Prospects have announced their finalists in their new team name competition. It's down to the Burrow Bandits, Cactus Rats, Cobra Chickens, Jacked Rabbits, and Prairie Pirates. You can go to nameyourteam.net to cast your ballot. And it is official, as the world's longest baseball game held in Sherwood Park has rewritten the Guinness Book of World Records again with its 101-hour, 11-minute, and 20-second match last fall. For their efforts, they've also raised north of $313,000 for cancer research. Congratulations again to everyone involved. If you have news or notes you'd like to pass our way, as always, drop us an email, and we have some new emails to pass your way. Joe at albertadugoutstories.com will go directly to me, while you can also reach Ian at, you guessed it, Ian at albertadugoutstories.com. On to this week's guest now, and he is a Canadian baseball icon and the first base coach of the St. Louis Cardinals. We are, of course, talking about Stubby Clapp, a true Mr. Hustle for Canada for years. He made it to the big leagues with the Cards for a 23-game stint in 2001. The 11-year pro's final 2 years came here in Alberta with the Edmonton Cracker-Cats in 2005-2006. Before he went into coaching, he's been on the Canadian Olympic team, 2 World Baseball Classics, and was a key piece of that amazing gold medal performance at the 2015 Pan Am Games. For all of his accomplishments, Clapp was inducted to the Baseball Canada Wall of Excellence on January 11th. The Windsor, Ontario native spent some time with us recently to discuss his baseball journey, his memories of Edmonton, and what it meant to be recognized by Baseball Canada. Stubby, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the opportunity.
So, Baseball Canada, Wall of Excellence, inductee, Stubby Clapp, has it all sunk in yet?
Yeah, it has now. It took a little while getting to go through the banquet and see everybody's awards and everything like that. And get to listen to everybody talk about, how passionate they are about Baseball Canada and what it means to them in their careers. And then being able to reflect on it myself and going back, and at that time it was, it was hitting me, but it wasn't quite like really understanding at what I was being awarded with. And then as I got to see my teammates that I played with that were there and everything like that. It started just bringing back a flood of memories and all the hard work that had gone into those teams and qualifying and stuff like that with those guys. And um, I think it meant more to me as a team award, like what I was able to be a part of and accomplish with all my teammates. And that's when it really looked kind of hit home. And then obviously having my two boys there, to be able to see that, and they got to see some cool video of me playing that they've never seen before. So they were amazed. They're like, "You really did that?" I was like, "Yeah, I used to be able to play," and so it was kind of cool to see, like, get to be a part of that and see my teammates again, and that's what made it more special.
I was gonna ask about that side of things. It's like you get to have the two boys there, and did you make a mental note to like look at what their reaction was throughout that process as much as it was trying to be reflective of your own career?
I think you know what they were sitting in the they were actually sitting at the junior national team table with all the younger guys. Um, so they had somebody to talk to really besides adults,
Mhm.
and so I didn't get to see their reaction, but it was the questions afterwards. It was the answers and the like the different types of things that they were talking to me about, and it, like because they didn't get to really see me play. Like the oldest one, he was just a baby, so uh, he doesn't remember much. They remember going. They remember being a part of the WBC when we brawled Mexico. But the only thing that they remember that part about is being whisked away by security. you know, so. As far as like them actually remembering the playing days and remember how I was able to play the game and stuff like that, they don't really have much.
Mhm.
My younger son, he pulled out a bunch of DVDs um, from the '08 Olympics, and he was like surfing through game after game after game just to find stuff. And it's funny to see that, and it's I appreciate I kind of appreciate their interest in them trying to figure out kind of how I played.
Do they do the backflip like you?
No, you know what? No, no, I've kind of discouraged that. uh, the oldest one, I caught him trying to do a backflip off a dirt hill in the back of the yard, probably when he was like 10 or 11. I was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm trying to teach myself the backflip." I'm like, "Listen, I'm like, I don't know that you want to try this because if you don't land it, it's not going to be good." I was like, "But then if you do it and it becomes a thing, then you've got to own it and go with it." So I was like, maybe you want to just hold on until you get a little older.
Fair enough. So looking back, take us to when you got that first phone call and they said, "Hey, we're thinking of honoring you in this way." What went through your mind?
I was very honored. That was the first thing I was like, wow. I was like, they really think that much of me. So that was, like a kind of a moment where I was like, okay. Um, I feel very grateful and honored, and I was excited about it. I don't know that I really understood really what it was until I got there and started listening to my peers and them congratulate me and everything like that. So I think that's when everything started to really sink in on how important it really was and what it meant to the 12 other guys, 12 other people that had been inducted into it already, and just being a part of that. I guess that group is really special.
You mentioned the reflection part. Take us back to the very first time that you entered the clubhouse as a member of Team Canada. I've talked to a lot of guys who said you get the feels when you see your name on the back and the Canada on the chest. What was that moment like for you?
So, do you want to go all the way back to 1991?
Hopefully.
That would be the junior national team that
Mhm.
we won the gold medal with in Brandon, Manitoba, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. Like it doesn't matter if it's just one time, if it's like I said, all the way back in 1991, or if I think about the team in 2003 trying to qualify for the 2004 Olympics, or the team in 2007 trying to qualify for the 2008, or the local, let's say local, one of the pre-qualifying tournaments that we had to play in Florida, like every time you get to put Canada across your chest, you feel like your chest grows about 3 inches.
Mhm.
I mean, it's something special. It's something that it's earned. It's a privilege, and to be able to do it once, twice, numerous times is just it's a God given blessing, and I'll never forget any one of them.
Is there a specific moment that stands out for you as being the favorite or the one where you had to almost take that step back and go, man, I can't believe I get to do this?
There's a couple. You know what? Everyone's been special, but I'll describe. You know, my journey started when I was 12. That's
Mhm.
and I say my journey, my thought process, my like. Okay, I think this is what I want to do. So I was a huge Olympic fan as a kid. Like I used to be able to tell you everybody's 100 times, everybody's 4x1, everybody's 4x4. I could name every like 4 or 5 countries. I could name their roster for their 4x4 with their alternates and like javelin and high jump. And so my point is I love the Olympics. And so at 12 years old, I was a bat boy for the U.S. national team. There was a tournament in Windsor, and I fell in love with it then. Right then, I was just like, "This is cool. These guys are representing their team, playing baseball, my one of my favorite sports." And I was like, "This is what I want to do." And so my journey began at 12 years old. Um, Fast forward to the 2004 opening ceremonies in Athens, and walking through that through the gates at the opening ceremony and hearing your country's name called, and now entering Canada, and you hear the crowd erupt, you know, with all the people there cheering you on. Um, I think that's one of the coolest moments. Beijing was awesome, getting to walk through, you know, getting to do it a second time, and you take it in a different perspective. And I guess you know those are the times that you kind of take a step back and you're like, okay, I've accomplished the goal. Now it's time to finish it.
Talk about Athens for a minute because it's one thing to do it in whether it's Los Angeles or whether it's you mentioned Beijing. Like there's a certain nuance, I suppose, that goes along with Athens, right? How special was that?
That was really cool. Obviously, going back to the very first place of the Olympics, getting to go see. We actually went to the old Olympic grounds there and got to do that and look at all the history there. Get to see all the buildings and you know the really the ruins and stuff like that. And getting to be a part of that was awesome. I mean, the Olympic Village was awesome. The people were awesome. It was at that time I had my wife had come down for the for the Olympic Games, so that was nice having her there. It made it a little bit more special for me. And then um, I think you know the fact that it was the first place ever for the Olympics, and then getting to go back there and actually do it was made it even more special.
Absolutely. Do you find yourself when you get those opportunities, whether it was an Olympics or whether it was a Pan Am or whatever the case may be, to play tourist while you're there as well? Because it's not often that you get to go and travel the world while also playing the game you love.
I'm not gonna lie, it's tough.
Mm.
It's tough. It's because you've got a short window of schedule for games and stuff like that, so it's tough to get out and play tourist. Honestly, if my wife wasn't there in Athens, I probably would have never left the village,
Mm.
other than maybe to go see some other events. We got out and we did like a little 3 island tour on one of the days off, and we were on a boat and we were floating around and doing all kinds of stuff, jumping off some small cliffs and stuff like that. They don't have beaches there, so you got to jump off of rocks. Um, so, anyways, we did that little bit of touring, and then in Beijing, Adam Stern and I we left the village to go and find some stuff for the guys. We needed some reinforcements for for the villages for after the games. Um, and so him and I took off in a taxi cab, and while we were driving, trying to find our place to purchase our goods, we seen two little kids playing badminton over a telephone wire. So we stopped the taxi cab and we got out and we started playing with these young kids, and um, it was amazing. They were like crazy because we are two white guys that step out of a taxi cab in the middle of Beijing. They're like, "What's going on?" So when we started to play badminton with them, it was a lot of fun. We had so much fun with those two little kids, and it's the first time I've ever had a shuttlecock spiked in my chest, and probably the last time. I don't think I've played since. But getting to experience some of the culture and stuff like that, it's a lot of fun. But you don't necessarily get a lot of time because you're there for to do business.
Mhm. I was going to ask about the culture side too. Do you have a favorite place where you've been over the course of your journey, whether it be a baseball related one or maybe one that you got to experience after the fact?
Hmm, it's a good question. I'm not gonna lie, I really liked Athens. I liked being able, like, we started out in Nettuno, Italy as a pre-tournament there to get ready, and then going into Athens and seeing the Parthenon and all that fun stuff. Like that was pretty cool. Like I actually wish I could go back there as a tourist. And I did like Beijing. I've been over to Taichung, Taiwan. Um, been over to Australia, Nicaragua, obviously all over the U.S. and Canada. I think probably one of those places, if I had to pick, I like Athens a lot. I feel I like the aesthetics of Athens and the beauty of the country and everything like that. I think I like the rat race of Taichung. Like it's like it's like you have to either move with them or you get run over. You know,
Mhm.
it's kind of one of those areas. So I guess I've been to Mexico a little bit with St. Louis. We did a tournament there, or we did a one of those games there. Um, didn't get out much. I mean, you're there too much, so I guess I'll go with Athens.
Fantastic stuff. Um, Going back to the playing career, of course, this is an Alberta-based podcast, so I want to talk a little bit about your couple of years here with the Edmonton Cracker-Cats. What do you remember about your time here?
It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We had Terry Bevington was my manager. John Barlow was the assistant coach, who I still talk to this day. Both my sons have been coached by John Barlow, so it's kept it in the family. He's been very good to the family. Um, Edmonton Cracker Cats. Wow. Mike Kasavich, Chris Beck, uh, Aaron Eggleston, Jeremy Ware was my roommate. Um, I can go back and Greg Morrison, second year. I can go back and name the names. We had so much fun. It was a good group of guys. Here's the difference, like with independent ball. Independent ball is a lot of international baseball. You're there to win, right? So I think that's the fun that I desired, or that I loved about independent ball over org ball. Org ball, you're there to win, but you're more there to develop and get to the big leagues. Um, Sometimes winning takes a back seat, and when if I'm stepping on a baseball field, I'm playing to win.
Mhm.
And I think that's what the draw for me was, um, for Edmonton, is that whole group of guys. That 2 years we wanted to win, and we played like it. We didn't necessarily win every game, but we had a lot of fun trying, and it was a good last 2 years of my career. If they could have kept paying me a decent amount, I'm not talking a lot, just something I probably would have played longer.
Mhm. I'm going to test your memory a little bit. One, I know we've talked about it on social, and I want to get your thoughts on that All-Star game and coming in to replace a legend. What was that like?
That's awesome. I tell my kids every time I see Buck O'Neill, every time I see anything about him, my kids are at the point where, like, Dad, we know you're the his last pinch runner for him. And I was like, but you don't understand, like, the history of the Negro Leagues and stuff like that and everything. It was, what was really cool was Rickwood last year. We played in Rickwood, so my whole family came to that game against San Francisco at that stadium there, and they got to experience kind of what the history was and everything like that. And I think they started to understand like the importance of the Negro Leagues in our game and how important that was to um, opening up the game to different levels and obviously to different races and ethnicities and stuff like that. And being able to just be a small part of that history and have that little tie to that part of the game, and it being Buck O'Neill, he was so awesome. He was so gracious that day, and so much fun to talk to. I'll never forget, just being able to have that opportunity.
How important is the history of the game in your eyes? Like it sounds like it's a point of pride for you, not just to share with your boys, but also to make sure that even the players that you deal with on a day-to-day basis get to know a little bit about what has preceded them.
Yeah, I mean it's huge, right? So like if you think about the history of the game, there's a lot of things that have happened in the game from Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier to the strikes. Guys were holding out for strikes for contracts, and guys doing different things and standing up for different rights and everything like that in the game in order to make it better for the next generation. Right? Like it's important to understand like where our game's at, but it wouldn't be where it's at if we didn't have those guys before us to set the precedent or to do the tough things to get the next thing done so that it's better for the next generation. And I think that's huge to understand. I mean, watching the history of the game, I had that whole set, and when I was managing, I would play one inning per bus trip. And the guys understood. They weren't mad at me, because they always wanted to watch their TV. I was like, you guys
Mhm.
can watch one inning, so that you guys can get a grip of where our game's at, what you have, because at that time we're still riding buses, and it wasn't always the cleanest place to be.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't always the nicest thing. Like it was still. I'm not going to say it was rough back then because it wasn't rough compared to what the guys came before us, but I wanted them to understand, like, you guys have what you have because these guys went through it before we did.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think it's huge. I think it's important.
Absolutely. Testing your memory again, June 13th, 2006. That might not mean a whole lot to you, or maybe it does. A pretty heated Battle of Alberta rivalry, and you mentioned Greg Morrison gets plunked a couple of times, and all of a sudden, all heck breaks loose. Do you remember
Yeah,
the infamous brawl?
I know exactly what brawl you're talking about in Calgary.
Mhm.
And Mike Bush was the manager, and I'll put it this way: I don't have anything against Mike Bush now, but back then it was the rumor is, and I say rumor because it was hearsay, but if somebody on Calgary got plunked, it was automatic that somebody on the other team got plunked, and that was Mike's rule, and that was to protect his players or whatever. It got to the point where I got plunked, Greg got plunked, and we're like, okay, no more. And we had it. And when he got plunked, it was time to take care of business. It was time to take care of business because I remember when I got plunked earlier in the game, I didn't even get mad at the pitcher. I turned to their bench and I looked at Mike Bush. I said, "Okay," I said, "No more. We're done. This is it. It's clean it up. Let's play some baseball." And of course, Greg got plunked again after that, and that's when everything all hell broke loose.
Looking back on the career to this point, and also seeing the game now, and getting to hear some of the stories during the last couple of weekends there, how has the game changed in Canada through your eyes from the very beginnings of, you mentioned the junior national team in 91 to what it's become today? What have you noticed?
Well, I mean, number one, the whole process, right? So, like, when I left home I think I was in '91, I was 18. I left home to play for the province. I left home to play for Team Ontario. We went to the provincials, played in that. Then out of that process, you get selected. You get selected for the tryout for Team Canada, and then from there, once you get selected, then you go play whatever the tournament is that summer. And then like now they've got a whole process of how it's happened and how it happens and how the guys get selected and they go play. They're playing against professional teams in extended and instructional league. They're going over the Dominican, playing the Dominican professional teams over there. The exposure that these guys are getting now at such a young age is crucial to their development and how they're able to compete. And I think you look at the guys that have come into the big leagues from our program, they've not only made the big leagues, but they're making a significant impact in the big leagues. And that's to development at a young age through Baseball Canada and the opportunities that they've gotten.
How cool is it in your eyes to be able to have seen that evolution happen and kind of be a part of it to a certain extent too, in terms of whether it be mentoring young players or, being able to give back to the game as you have?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm really happy for Greg Hamilton and his staff and everything that they've done, all the hard work that they've put in. Who knows how many phone calls that guy's made to be able to make opportunities happen for kids. Like him and Jim Baba at the time and Ray Carter and now Jason Dixon's in there. And like, you talk about a selfless act. You talk about someone working for something higher than yourself. And that's exactly what those guys did with that program. And to be able to see what the amount of work that they put into how that program developed, the opportunities that they've provided for the young athletes, and watching the athletes actually, take advantage of those opportunities and do what they've done has been awesome.
Couple more for you before we let you go. For those young kids who want to get to the pros, or those young kids who you're mentoring along the way, what's that one piece of advice or those words of wisdom you like to impart upon them so that they kind of know what to expect as they go about their journey?
Number one is never give up. You never know. Like you gotta forge forward. Like the persistence is going to be the foundation of success. And that's from anything physical to mental. Like it's not going to be easy. There's no one way. There's no one road. There's no perfect line to the big leagues. Everybody's got their own road, their own journey, their own twists and turns, their bumps in the road. It's who's going to be more persistent to get over those bumps.
Certainly got over yours and put up a great career. So again, really appreciate the time. One final question for you. It's one we ask everybody here on the show. What does the game of baseball mean to you?
Baseball been very, very good to me. I've got to see a lot of the world for free. Enjoy a game that I love, and it's provided a nice living for my family and I.
It's been fantastic getting a chance to chat with you. An honor and a privilege, Stubby. Congratulations on the Wall of Excellence induction. Congratulations on the amazing career to this point, both as a player and now as a coach. Continued success in St. Louis. And thanks again so much for joining us here on the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Appreciate it. Hope the dogs didn't make too much noise for you.
Thanks again to Stubby Clapp for joining us this week, and thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. If you like this or any other episode, make sure to leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast app. And don't forget as well, we've launched a page on buymeacoffee.com. A big thanks to our latest supporter, Liam from Ment, for his 5 coffee effort. Just search out Dugout Stories on that site to see what it's all about. A tip of the cap, as always, to our Platinum supporters for all they do for us and for the game in this province. The Okotoks Dogs, Western Canadian Baseball League, and Under the Lights Sports and Entertainment have been extremely generous with their support, helping us cover costs like web hosting fees and travel. For more on our teammates and how you and your organization can get involved, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.